You go back Super Bowl 36 and you're playing the Patriots and you had beaten them in Foxborough on a frigid night. I think that game was 14-7. It was a Sunday night game on ESPN. So you'd already beaten them at their place in their element, and I remember being in New Orleans that week, and that Super Bowl sticks with me for a lot of reasons. It was the first Super Bowl after 9/11. I mean, there were tanks in the city, but it felt like it was a coronation. And the one thing I remember about that game, and I've watched it a million times, and I'm sure you have too, in going back and looking at the first half, the way they were defending you guys, they were daring Mike Martz to run Marshall Faulk. And for whatever reason, he just didn't. And finally, when you guys got the ball moving in the second half, oh my God, Marshall Faulk here, Marshall Faulk there. It was like it took him halftime to realize this is what the defense is telling me we should do. How frustrating was that for you as a quarterback, knowing the game plan and how it was playing out?
Yeah, I mean, it was frustrating. And that was, again, before the new rules of the NFL.
Yes.
And so, we were so much built on speed and we were built on timing. And as hard as it is to say, I go back and I give Bill Belichick and the Patriots credit for their approach to that game. They beat us up. They grabbed us. They held us. They did all those things. But I truly believe the approach, and probably what Bill told his secondary going into the game is, hey, we are going to hold them and grab them and beat them up until we get called, right? We are going to force the officials to dictate the course of this game, because everybody knows nobody wants a lot of penalty flags in a Super Bowl. Nobody wants the officials to be the main man in a Super Bowl. So they went in and say, hey, we don't match up with these guys from a physical standpoint across the board. This is the only way that we're going to have a chance to slow them down. And so the first half, they beat us up all over. Again, we wanted penalties. We wanted, defensive passes. We wanted all that stuff. But the officials weren't calling it early, as you kind of expect to happen in a Super Bowl. And so, I tip my hat to them, because to me, it was the best approach that they could take. They did some unique things to us with Marshall, how they had two linebackers on the end of the line of scrimmage. So every time Marshall was going to release from the backfield, they were going to hit him. They weren't going to let him free release because he was such a big part of what we did. So it was extremely frustrating in that game. And, once again, that was a game where, again, I think we put up 450, 500 yards of total offense, but we kept shooting ourselves in the foot. We'd get down close to the red zone and we'd have a penalty or we'd have a mistake. And we couldn't, we couldn't finish in that game. So great to move the ball and get all these yards, but if you can't finish, it doesn't matter. And so it was so frustrating in that game, because just like everything else, when you get to the big moment, all you want to do is put your best foot forward. You want to play your best game. And if the other team is better than you on that night, you tip your hat and you say, this is what it's all about. Two teams playing their best football, and the better team won that particular night. The hardest thing was we didn't play our best football. We didn't play really well in that game. And that's why I think it resonates or it hangs with me so much, is that I just wanted us to play our best game. And if we had, I think we probably win that Super Bowl. But to the Patriots' credit, and not to our credit, we didn't show up and play our best game. We didn't show up and play like the team that had played, the greatest show on turf for the last 3 years. And it ultimately ended up costing us a Super Bowl, even though, we got back in the game and it came down to a kick on the final play of the game. We had plenty of opportunities to win that football game, and we just didn't do it. But that's what makes it so tough, is that on paper, and, I still believe to this day, we were the better football team if we had played our game, but we did not do that, and the Patriots deserved to win that game.
You guys have been behind the entire game, essentially. And then you hit Ricky Proehl for the tying touchdown at 17. By the way, side note, Ricky Proehl, 3 greatest catches in NFL history nobody remembers. The one touchdown against the Bucs, this one, and then the Super Bowl 38, where he tied the game from Jake Delhomme, 2 of them wiped out by Adam Vinatieri. So you get the game tied. You guys have all the momentum. And I remember John Madden on the broadcast saying, the Patriots should just play for the tie and go to overtime. Well, they did not do that. So when you guys scored, and there was like a minute 47, something like that, left in the game, did you think we're going to overtime, or did you think they're going to come down and score on this team?
No, we thought we were going to win this game. The momentum had completely shifted. We felt at that point we had got a beat on what they were doing. The officials had called some of those plays, so they had to play a little less physical with us. And we really felt like, okay, now we're rolling. We're going to take this thing into overtime because, in that game, I mean, Tom Brady, he won the MVP, but I think he finished the game with 150 yards of passing. And 50 of it
that
probably
last drive won him the MVP. He was
right.
a non-factor in that game until that last drive, which kudos to him. Like you said, when it's on the line, he did it, but it was not Brady was everything in that game. Yeah.
Right. And so, when we tied the game up and, here's a young kid that's never been here and he's got 100 yards passing. Yeah, I think we're all thinking, okay, we're going to go into overtime and we're going to get the football and we're going to win this football game. And to their credit, I mean, I'm sure Bill Belichick, part of him is saying, okay, we can't go into overtime, because we don't have what it takes. We have got to push the envelope here a little bit and try to win this game. And then, and then Tom Brady making some big plays in that moment. We had some close opportunities to what I believe finish that game. We weren't able to do it. They were able to make the plays. And then obviously Adam made the kick.